Hey y'all, Coach in the Fight here. Hope that wasn't too loud, but the commandment says to hear the shofar on the memorial of blowing of trumpets, and today is the memorial of blowing of trumpets. Now, I know there is a lot of questions about whether the new moon was sighted on last evening, October the 15th. I went out there to try to see it myself. I had a lot of clouds and, like many others, was unable to see anything. Now, the thing about it, there are some people who have reported seeing the new moon around the world, while a lot of people, like I, reported clouds and haze, and others reported no sighting with clear skies. So what we've decided to do is to go in and look at the scripture to see exactly what it says about this new moon and whether or not today is the memorial of blowing of trumpets. So we're looking here in Enoch chapter 72, which is about the moon and the 30th day of the moon. This whole chapter is about telling us when this 30th day is to occur, what it looks like, how you know you're there, and all of this information is in this chapter. For instance, if you weren't able to go out to see the new moon and all you had is data, this chapter tells you how to use that data in order to determine if you're on the 30th morning. So let's jump right into it. We see down here in about verse 4 when it starts talking about the commencement of this 30-day period. This is very important when it comes to the moon is the 30th day. The 30th day is to the moon as the 364th day is to the sun or to the stars. That's a key point when it comes to the moon and its understanding. But look at verse 5. It says, and the time it appears and becomes to you the beginning of the month. 30 days it is with the sun. So this is what this chapter is about. The 30th day is the beginning of the month, we're going to find out here. It's the beginning of the month is the end of the month. The 30th day and the first day are the exact same day as far as we're concerned in the way we understand time. I mean, we wake up on the 30th day and we go to sleep on the first day of the next month. We see that explained thoroughly here in verse 6 when it says that on that day, talking about the 30th day, the sun receives 1/7 portion or half a portion of its light. So this is talking about the day in which the new moon appears. It says that it's going to receive 1/7 portion of its light. And that's normally what we go out there and try to see, this 1/7 portion of its light. Now, you see right there in verse 7, it says, and when the sun rises, the moon rises with it, receiving a half a portion of its light. Now, this, again, we're talking about the 30th morning. This is kind of new understanding for a lot of people, myself included. It's, we're solidly getting a grasp on this way of determining the moon, because up until now, we have been relying on visual confirmations. But, you go through Enoch, and it doesn't say anything about that. You actually hear about the visual confirmations in the Dead Sea Scrolls. That's where I got that from, in the Dead Sea Scrolls, where they would physically go out each month and actually look at the new moon. But that's not what the original scripture says. The original scripture, which is Enoch, is telling us here. Let's see what it says. In verse 7, it says, and when the sun rises, the moon rises with it, receiving a half portion of its light. Again, talking about the 30th morning when the moon and the sun rise together. But when you look at the percentage of the moon, and we're going to do that, it tells you that you have that percentage of the moon illuminated. Now let's look at verse 8. It says, on that night when it commences its period, previously to the day of the month, the moon sets with the sun. Now here we are getting real interesting. We're getting down to the nitty gritty. Verse 8 is the very important verse in this understanding, where it's talking about when it commences, when it starts, when this day starts. And of course, the day starts at sunset. Well, let me say that differently. I know people get mad when I say that. The day ends at sunset. The day ends at sunset, and a new day, a new 24-hour period begins. I have to be real careful. The day ends at sunset, and a new 24-hour period begins at sunset, and that's what it's talking about here at the commencement of this period. the moon and the sun sets together. All right, so let's jump over here to the U.S. Naval Observatory Astronomical Data Department, and let's look at the complete sun and moon data for one day, particularly October the 14th in the year 2023. So we scroll down and we look at the time in which the sun set on October the 14th. This is the day that we had the eclipse, the solar eclipse. You had the sun to set at 5:49 p.m., 17:49 p.m. or 5:49 p.m. But then when you scroll down and look at the moon, it says that the sun set at 5:46. So that's within 3 minutes of each other. And so that's what Enoch was talking about, is on the day before they'll set together. Well, you don't get much closer than 3 minutes apart, them setting together. So what Enoch is describing over here is the 30th day, the commencement of the 30th day started on the 14th day of October. Then you look at verse 14, it says, and on that night it is dark in the 14th part, which means that on the 14th, you will not see the new moon at all on the 14th of October, which was the commencement of the 30th day. That is in each half, but it rises on that day with 1/7 portion precisely. And in its progress declines from the rising of the sun. So that last part, in its progress declines from rising with the sun, what they're saying is that they no longer rise and set together. On this day, this 30th morning, they're going to rise together, but after which the time is going to change, because you'll see that the moon will, its rise time will change by like an hour or two each day, while the sun only changes by a minute or two. So they will deviate. But then notice right there where it says, but it rises on that day with 1/7 portion of its light precisely. So this is talking about the morning of the 30th day, which would have been the 15th. So when we look at October the 15th, the sunrise was at 5:43 a.m., 5:43 a.m., and the moonrise was 6:08 a.m. So within 25 minutes or so of each other, again, rising together. Now, let's look at some other days. Look how close that is, 25 minutes. Let's see if we get any closer, because some saying, hey, that's a big difference. All right, well, let's go look at the 14th and look at the 16th and see which one is the closest. We were taking bets. I know where I put my money. We'll look at the 16th first, because that's today, and we haven't looked at it yet, but we see the sun rises. It's still at 6. But we see that the sun rises still at 5:42. But the moonrise was an hour later, over an hour later, at 6:52. So that's way different. The other time was about 20 minutes. Now you're about an hour. Now let's look at the 14th. And on the 14th, you had the rise time of 5:43 and a rise time of 5:26. And if you consider daylight savings time, once again, they're kind of rising together. So the only possible day, because that was the day of the lunar eclipse, that was the day of the solar eclipse on the 14th. So the only possible day that fits the description is the 15th for the 30th morning and the first day of the next month. So guys, I'm blowing the trumpets. I know what the reports are, but I'm blowing the trumpets on the day. But I'll keep doing research, and I'll keep you guys posted if I find out any more information. Keep praying for me. It's very important stuff. But you guys, with this, I'm gonna tell you what I'm gonna do. If unless this gets cleared up somehow conclusively, then I'm going to be afflicting my soul for an extra day, and I'm going to be reading on the Torah for an extra day. I'm just going to take into account 2 days, and I'm going to have an extra day of being in the tent. I'm going to have an extra day of afflicting my soul, and handle it unless our Father in heaven shows me something clearly. We just have a longer feast day as far as I'm concerned. So y'all let me know what y'all think in the comment section, and I'll see you down there. Shalom.